Michael Nagy here with Jiggy Jag TV, and I'm here with Disciples of Verity. How you doing today?
Good. Doing really good.
Cool. Now, you want to tell us a little about the project?
The project is what I like to call kind of like a Mr. Magoo project because it just sort of, a lot of things just sort of happened. Corey Glover obviously is doing vocals for the band. He wanted to do a heavy project. George Pond, who plays bass for the band, was writing a bunch of exterior stuff that he wasn't using for the band that he was in. The mutual friend, Michael Smitty Smith, was managing both George's old band and Corey Glover. I produced George's old band's album, actually, and then basically all this ties into where Smitty eventually connects Glover with George. They got a certain distance. George basically called me. He had like a song and a half or so kind of done. And he says, well, can you produce this record and help me finish writing the tunes? I said, oh, okay. That sounds good. I had a lot actually going on at the time. I was producing a couple other records and, just a lot, just general life stuff too, family stuff and whatever. And then this all escalated. Morgan Rose got involved. He did play drums on a couple tracks. Then he obviously has stuff that he's doing, Seven Dust and things of that nature, obviously. And then I ended up calling a couple friends to get involved. I called Jeff Loomis to get involved, and he did a solo on the record called Phil Demmel. If you're not aware of who these people are, Jeff Loomis is obviously, everybody knows who Jeff Loomis is. If you don't know who Phil Demmel is, I don't know, you're not paying attention to metal at all for like the past 30 years. And then also Tara McLeod, who was formerly in Kitty, who I met on when she was still playing with Kitty, but she's a phenomenal guitar player as well, excellent feel, and just an all-around good person, so I called her up as well, so she actually plays a solo on the record as well. So a lot of good people, chipped in and got involved in this. And honestly, I wasn't even supposed to be playing drums on this record. I didn't think at the time. So a few weeks come by after George and I had finished doing all the arranging and all of that stuff, and he says, "Hey, can you come track drums for this project?" I said, "What project?" I was already like onto like the third other thing, that I was gonna do, and I completely I had no idea what he was talking about, actually, when he first brought it up. So basically, all that stuff got programmed initially just to get the song structures down and stuff like that. So I walked in, basically he had studio time booked with a guy named Charles Berezonsky who mixed the record and stuff. And, so we basically packed up George's truck. I went down to South Jersey, never having played the songs physically and barely, sort of remembering them. I just went in and recorded all the drums cold. I just made up all the parts on the spot. So I did that in a couple days over Saturday and Sunday, I guess it was. I went and recorded the drums for the record. Okay. I thought that was it. Okay. Now the drums are done. Everything's good. I'll go on my way, and do whatever it was I had to do. A couple weeks go by, and I get a call from George, like, "Hey, photo shoots at such and such place in South Jersey." I was like, "What?" I was like, "Photo shoots? What are you talking about?" He goes, "For the band." He goes, "We're in the
For a new band, you're getting a lot of attention.
Well, it was like, I didn't know I was in the band. We never discussed it, it wasn't like, hey, not even jokingly, like, "Hey, you want to be in the band?" Ha, 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 elbow shove. There was none of that. So basically I get there and he basically said like, "Oh, we," meaning him and Corey, "just assumed you were in the band because you went and tracked the drums for it." And Glover is very smooth with his commentary. "You can just bring it over, man. It's cool." It's all good, man. People know I'm fat. They already know. It's not a secret. Glover was like, "Oh man, it's he has a level of sincerity and like smoothness to his cadence when he talks to you, to where you feel like, I don't know what just happened. Like, am I just in this band now because he just said it? Is that what just happened?" And pretty much that's what just happened. he was like, oh, I'm really happy that you're in the band. I'm really digging the grooves of this and that and the other thing. And I was like, yo, what just happened here? My whole life just changed in like the span of minutes, Because I mean, after God forbid, I had no plans on being in another band whatsoever. I had made my peace with that, and was good, still am good with that, in the said where, I do a lot of other things in music. I try to help out a lot of bands out here in New York, New Jersey, wherever I can, really. But always kind of looking out for home and looking out for scene. And then Rita asked me to head up the Rotterdam East Coast chapter, so I've been doing that every year as well. Setting up shows for younger bands and stuff like that. Oh, is that my milkshake? Absolutely. You are the man right now. That is my favorite thing that's happening right now. This is my favorite thing next to baked goods is shakes. And I really shouldn't be having either. I actually I lost like 72 pounds from last year to this year.
Wow, that's incredible.
It's not that incredible. I had to make a life change. I was like dying, like I was about 250 something pounds, and I was like looking in the mirror one day. I was like, oh, this is gonna stop. Thank you. And now we're getting sidetracked. I'm going off because I'll tend to rant, so I don't want to get into the rant. But so anyway, I ended up going to this photo shoot and then basically joining the band. And then after that, we had a guy by the name of Greg Antine, who was originally wrote some of the stuff, and he was involved, but he has other stuff that he wants to do, and we all kind of knew it, and he kind of was like, listen, I don't know. I can't really follow his total logic, and I don't really want to explain it the wrong way, says I'm not a mind reader. I can just tell you what he said. He just kind of went his own way and did his thing, and that's all good. So basically it turned into me and George basically making a lot of decisions and figuring out what we were going to do. He brought in two friends of his that he used to, one guitarist, the younger one's Daniel Puma, who he played in his other band Negative Sky with, and Mark Monjoy is the other guitar player who he played in a band called Second Skin with, and they've known each other for like years, since back when they claim they were doing New Jersey metal and hardcore stuff, but I've seen the photos. They look pretty new metal to me, and you metal, and they don't like me to say that, but I'm gonna tell the truth out here, because that's why they don't want me to do interviews, because I tell the truth on stuff. They're like, why don't you just shut up, But
Tell it like it is, right?
Tell it like it is. I think everybody knows that now. They know that I'm just like, that's just who I am. I'm not. I don't have time to be making up stories, but so. Once that happened, I mean, we've been jamming, rehearsing steadily, and then finally we've had, full rehearsal with Corey Glover, which has been awesome, and you actually get to hear everything in person, which is great. And I mean, that dude just sings whatever he wants, literally. He's like, I'm going to do a flat fifth on the next try around just to do it, see what it sounds like. You're like, all right, dude, whatever. I don't know. I can't explain. Like, he's just very talented. Dude, he's a seasoned professional. He's been doing it for so long that things that a lot of people strive towards, he just does like chewing gum or breathing oxygen. It's just comes so naturally to him. He's definitely probably the most talented vocalist I've ever, played with in my lifetime. I've been playing for a long time.
How long have you been playing for?
Let's see. It's 2000. Well, you might as well say it's almost 2020 now. So I started playing in 1986, 85. So about 35 years now, 34 years. A long time since I was a kid when, the roots of metal were still, the greats were all taking hold. I started playing when, just before, around the time when Master of Puppets came out, South of Heaven came out, Among the Living came out, stuff like that, Those were the albums that were changing everything when I was 12 or 13 years old, especially for me. South of Heaven came out, it was Dave Lombardo. What drummer in the world that plays metal is not going to go, oh my God. Obviously Pantera. Pantera is my favorite metal band in the entire span of time. By far my favorite metal band of all time. They just were capable of doing anything they wanted, which is unfair in every aspect that you can look at it. Like they were just that good. You know, technically proficient, excellent groove, catchy songs. You know, immense amounts of talent at every part of the band, and the chemistry between them was obviously phenomenal. So yeah, it's been about 34, 35 years for me, and then obviously Corey Glover's been singing since, you know, he took Moses' sister to the prom or whatever. But everything's kind of just fallen into place, and you know, then we hooked up with Denny Sanders, our manager from the label group. It just from Song, our publicist, and things just sort of happen. Like, it's been totally the Mr. Magoo situation. You know, you're just blindly falling into these positive situations. You're like, no one saw that coming. No one saw this coming. It just sort of happened, you know. And it's all been working out pretty well. You know, it's a very cool situation. You get to make some good music with some people that you don't have to argue with, or everybody's pretty chill and has been around it long enough to where, you know, it's not very problematic. It's not easy, because there's nothing easy about being in a band ever. There's just nothing easy about that situation, because you're taking on a bunch of people into your life, not just band members, but booking agents and publicists and managers and people that all are going to have input on what you say and what you do, you know, all the time. So, but, you know, so far it's been great, and, you know, everybody gets along really well, and it's just a chill vibe, and it's just really, like, the record itself, it's very diverse in a lot of ways, and it's very melodic, and it's very heavy.
That's what I was going to ask about, the style of metal you would describe the project to be.
I mean, it's very much a similar style to like a Pantera, where it's very groove oriented. It's not a lot of fast, you know, I don't think that we're necessarily reinventing the wheel. We're just, you know, putting our own rims on it, essentially. It's a culmination of just great melody, a little bit of shredding, lots of heavy grooves. There is no screaming on the record. Corey Glover's not trying to be somebody else, which I thought was the best part, because when I first started listening to metal, like Judas Priest, Sin After Sin, and, you know, stuff like that, Iron Maiden, there was, you know, people weren't really screaming in metal. You know, people actually had to sing. You know, you actually had to have vocal talent. You know, any fool couldn't get up there and sound like the Cookie Monster. And I'm not saying that that's not a skill, because some people do have that skill, where they could yell or scream in key, or they have such a ferocious sound that it lends towards the music and it elevated it. But I think it's something that he didn't need to do. He just needed to give his interpretation of what he wanted over this kind of music, which he's never really had an opportunity to do before. But he did a fantastic job there, and everything came out very cohesive with very little effort, to be honest. I was actually pretty shocked that it took so little effort to have everything sort of, you know, kind of combined and be cohesive. You know, obviously the initial worry is because of his vocal style. You start thinking about heavy riffs, and you start thinking, like, is it going to be sounding like two different bands all the time? You know, like he's in one band, the rest of us are all playing some other shit. But cursing's fine on here, right? I can. Okay, I was like, I always got to check, because my mouth is, I'm from New Jersey. Well, you know.
Yeah, you could say whatever. It's totally cool.
Jersey language is expressed primarily through profanity. In case you're not aware, anybody's not aware what's going on out there. You come to Jersey, people curse a lot. But yeah, it's been really cool. It's very heavy stuff. It's also very melodic. We have one cover on that's very, like, I'm not going to say what it is. You're just going to have to be disappointed with that. Sorry. But you'll know. We're doing a video for that single with Dale Rezzaghini, actually. Dale Rage Rezzaghini, who's done just so much stuff. I can't get into the list. Go out and, you know, go on Instagram and look up Dale Rage Rezzaghini and look at his resume, because it's impressive. But we're doing that in December after. So the next single will come out is Lying to Myself. It's got Phil Demo from Machine Head on it. There'll be a video for that. Then we're shooting the video for the cover, and as soon as that's done, that single will come out, and then the whole album will be out.
Awesome. Yeah, the collaborations really make this project really unique, and
It's a lot of talent, man. It's a lot of talent that, by all means, you know, from any perspective you might look at it, you would never expect this amalgamation of people to sort of get together and end up being on one record. Like the idea that would even happen, I'm sure never crossed anybody's mind that Jeff Loomis and Phil Demmel and me and Corey Glover and, you know, Morgan Rose, all these people would ever be on the same record. Joe Guerreri, he's also a shredder. You know, he's from New York. He's actually from Corey Glover's area, his neighborhood, but he's another guy. And it's like Tara McLeod, like I said, it's like a weird mixture of people that came together and made this record and participated in it, and everybody had a good time. You know, it's not often you could say that in and of itself. You know, and I think everybody feels really confident in how everything came out and how everything sounds. I actually just recently finished the last of the drum recording. I did with actually Eric Rachel, who did all the God Forbid records. He did E-Town, Hate Breed, and Symphony X, and Seven Dust, and he's got some gold records in his, you know, in his repertoire. But he's the guy I've pretty much done most of the stuff, most of my career with. Even producing, I've brought bands, and we just have an excellent rapport. So it makes things easy too. You know, the better relationship you have with all the people that you work with. And yes, I'm jumping into this milkshake because I have to.
you said this place is the best milkshakes, so.
You have some awesome milkshakes here, man, and I've been coming here since probably I was like 8 or 9, because my parents used to come here. My dad actually, my dad told me that, obviously the people can't see this out there, but out there's a main road called Eastern Avenue. My dad told me that when he bought my parents' house out here, this was still a dirt road. All of this was still a dirt road. So that tells you, like, my family's been out here for a long time. Not that means anything, but we're Jersey through and through, so. I don't know what that means, but I got a lot of family in Jersey. They're all over the place. So if you see a bunch of peers, you see anybody with this visage, you know where you're at. Fucking Jersey.
Speaking of Jersey, you got a show coming up here in Jersey in January, right?
Sure do. Mm-hmm. Good God. That's so good. I haven't smoked any weed yet. It's still good. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, we have a few shows coming up. Because Glover's doing the David Bowie Experience, so he's going to be out and about a little bit in the new year, in the beginning of the new year. So we wanted to get some shows in before he leaves and start doing the prep for touring in the summer and all that stuff. So we're doing a show January 9th in Brooklyn at Kingsland with a friend of mine, Raphael Pinsker, who's I've known for a long time, is promoting shows there. January 10th is in New Bedford, Mass, a place called Greasy Luck, which is an awesome little club out there. A lot of my friends have played there. Got a lot of friends out there from all kinds of bands, you know, from Killswitch Days, and Thy Will Be Done's doing the show too, out there with us. And then January 11th, which is the Jersey show, which is at Dingbats in Clifton, and it's also their 20th anniversary for Dingbats and the bar across the street, Dingoes, which my friend Freddie, who works with me on Ride for Dime, owns both those places. So, and God forbid, we shot DVDs there, we've shot video there, and it's a home place, home base for a lot of us. You know, played shows there for years. So
it's a big deal.
Yeah, it should be an interesting time. I'm sure it'll be packed, and there'll be a lot of drinking going on. I'm sure of that. I'm going to try to refrain from getting behind the bar until after we play, which will be difficult, I'm sure. But I'll have to try. But yeah, Jersey show's going down. We'll get those few shows done, and then Glover's going to leave for a little bit and do some Bowie Experience stuff, and we'll buckle down and do some work that we need to do here and get things set up, talking with the agents and doing all that stuff. And then more than likely, we will be, you know, out touring in the summer. So that's the game plan.
That's awesome. So now with this record, do you think it's just going to be a continuous band, or you're just doing this record, or?
I mean, we've obviously talked about having this just be a continuous thing. I don't see why it couldn't be. I mean, we all do other things, which makes it sort of, I don't want to say convenient. That's the wrong adjective. It makes it a situation that everybody understands and benefits from, because no one's just sitting around, waiting to do just this. There's other things we can do, but we all think that this stuff is good enough, and what we can write even in the future, I think will be even better. So I mean, everybody thinks that we'd like to continue doing it for as long as we can do it. I think the other greatest situation is like, me personally, I'm not relying on this band to make money, so that works out great for me, because that's one of the major strains about being in a band. When you're relying on a band to make money, it makes life really tough, because you're basically, every time you tour, you're cutting off a huge part of your life and any possibility of making your everyday money, and in the hopes that you can go out and make some money with a band. Yep, I'm gonna do this on camera.
Cool. Now live, I was wondering, do you plan on incorporating? Now you have so many collaborations. Do you think you'll have some special guests at different shows play with you, or see how it all works out?
I can't see where that might not happen. Everybody that collaborated on this record, they're all friends. Like Jeff Loomis, I've known Jeff Loomis when he was in Nevermore. That was one of our first major tours. Our first national tour, and God forbid, was the Nevermore tour. I remember this because we drove straight from New Jersey. The first show was in Denver, and it was just over 33 hours. We drove in a Econoline van to Denver, and it was Nevermore, Opeth, Angel Dust, and us. And that was our first real, legit national tour, being on Century Media, which Nevermore was on Century Media at the time as well. So was Angel Dust. And Opeth, I had just found out about Opeth. I didn't really know anything. But you're talking about, this was 1999, 2000, somewhere around there. And so I'd known Jeff for a long time, since then. Phil Demmel is a situation where when he came back and joined Machine Head, we did the first tour in America. It was us, them, and 36 Crazy Fists. Then, after that tour was over, we did Ozfest, and then went to Europe with Machine Head for 10 and a half weeks. So, I mean, we knew those guys at that point. That's a long time between all the touring to be around each other. And I've known him, and he's always been he's just an incredible player, but he's just like a really good person. You know what I mean? Just super friendly, easy to get along with. If you can't get along with him, I don't know what's wrong with you. There's something clearly wrong with you if you can't get along with him, because he's just a good dude. I mean, he used to do some wild shit, but it was entertaining wild. It was never negative in any way. He would tackle porta potty sometimes. But he's a huge human being. Hey,
people like all that crazy, wild, entertaining stuff. Makes for good stories, and
obviously now he's much more settled down. He's still a great player, still a great person. I actually just talked to him the other day, and because I'm going out for NAMM, a bunch of us are. I said, hey, you're going to be at Dime Bash, and he's going to be there, so you never know. Hopefully I'll get to jam with him while I'm there. I got tricked into that too. Rita was like, oh, I'm going to have you play. I sent her a text. I go, hey, do I need to buy tickets for Dime Bash? Are you going to let my mocha ass in the building? She goes, oh, I'm going to have your mocha ass playing. I said, wait a minute. I didn't know I was going to have to play stuff. I thought I was just going to get drunk and eat ribs or something, But I'm more than happy to do that, and I think it'll be a great time.
Like you said, everything's just all come together. So
yeah, and hopefully I'll get to jam with some friends, and you never know. You never know what might happen. It's just anytime you're in a situation like that, where there's a bunch of guys and everybody knows each other. There's a lot of musicians around. Jamming's almost an inevitability. It's more than likely it's going to happen in some capacity. I don't know if that exactly answered your question, but I kind of danced around it a little bit.
Yeah, it's good information.
Danced around it a little bit there.
Now, if people want to find your music online, look you up on the social media, how do they do that?
Social media is easy. Facebook, it's Disciples of Verity. Instagram and Twitter, it's Disciples of Verity Grooves. We're on Spotify, all those mediums. The single's out now. The full record will be out in winter.
Do you have an actual date?
Well, we do, but I'm not supposed to say it yet, so I'm not gonna ruin it. But it'll be out next year, but early, super early next year. You know, it's not gonna be like springtime. It'll still be winter, and it'll be barely just next year. So if that's any indication. So I didn't say the date, but I kind of said it, but I didn't really say it. So
Get everyone excited, yeah.
well, I'm not supposed to say yet, but if it was up to me, I would just tell everyone. But that's just me, and I can't make decisions for everyone in the band and management. Like I said, it's you're inviting a lot of people into your life, so everybody has a say. So I'm not gonna just, you know.
Can you say how many tracks are on the album?
There's 8 songs on the album, including the cover, which is I think is a cover that no one's really gonna be seeing us coming with. It's definitely, you know, no one's gonna. But I think we did a great job with it, and I know Corey did a great job with it. I didn't have to do much of anything. I just sat in the back and relaxed. I recorded the drums for like 2 hours. So
Nice and easy.
nice and easy. You know, I like that. At this point, I'm not really trying to prove anything to anybody. I want to have fun playing, and you either like it or you don't. You know, I'm not going to be hurt either way. You know, that's how I feel now. It's like I feel like I have definitely a greater passion for playing music than I've had in a long time, because I went through a really like disgusted with music sort of period, which I think a lot of people that have been playing for a long time, you hit those points where you're just like, why the fuck am I doing this? You know, you start asking yourself those questions, but they're good questions to ask, because you really want to know, like, why am I motivating myself to do this? Am I really doing it because I really love it? Am I doing it because, you know, this is the only way I know how to make money? Am I doing it because, you know, I'm addicted to fame, or I want people kissing my ass? Which clearly there are a lot of people that's why they do things. That's why they need to stay current. It's because they cannot live without having their ass kissed. To me, that's like, it goes against everything. I feel like that's part of the reason that a lot of, not just metal music, but music in general is where it is, because it's all optics. It's all flash, and a lot less about any kind of integrity or substance. And in the genres that a lot of us listen to, heavier music genres or participate in, it makes it worse, because the entire concept of that music was about outrage and rebellion and doing something a little bit different for the integrity of just doing it. And I feel like a lot of that is just gone, you know, and it died with some of the people that I talked about. You know, a lot of that dies when people like Dimebag died, when Vinnie Paul dies, when Randy Rhoads dies. You know, when people like that die, a little bit of that integrity just falls off. Like, there's no one to lead that charge the way they led that charge. And in absence of true greatness, then mediocrity is king. Like, that's the water in the desert, you know. But it's just a mirage, you know. It's just all optics. It's just marketing at that point, you know. For my money, it's kind of sad, because it just turns into just that. It's just people doing just enough, you know, doing just enough to make an average song, or a song that they think will be good enough for people to listen to, or making the whole songs of nothing but just beat down, breakdowns. Like, that's not a song. It's just an amalgamation of parts, and you're calling it a song.
Yeah, but when you're really passionate about something like you are, it really shows in the music itself.
I think so. I think that, I don't know, there's a low I think that's in all music now. And you could blame it on the internet, you could blame it on this, but I think the blame really falls within the people that are creating it. At the end of the day, you're making the music. If you're making shitty music and you're not putting any real effort into it, it's like making a shitty house. Like, you could get a house, 100 years ago. A lot of those houses are still standing. You look at some of these houses they throw up in like a month now. 2 months, 6 months down the road, the roof is falling off.
It seems like nowadays people just want to get the material out there, and they're not looking for quality material.
I don't think they're looking for quality material, and it's about getting it out there. But people are scared because it's not like there's tons of money in music. Things don't really sell, so they're just looking for. I'm not even worried about the drippage. If it falls on a shirt, I don't give a damn. That's just how I roll. That's why I got this flannel on. I don't give a shit. I'll wipe it off and go right about my business. Go somewhere else with Sunday on my shirt. I don't care. That's not a message for everyone. That's just how I live, because I'm not trying to. I just don't care. Like, I'm not trying to impress anybody. Like, I think that's what a lot of it is. It's like people just want to be seen a certain way, and it has nothing to do with the music. It's just about being liked, or they live in fear that their music won't sell, so they don't really put their heart into it. They just carbon copy whatever looks like it's good right now. The whole Southern trend kill thing. It's like you want to kill trends. That was the idea behind most of this music, whether it was punk rock or hardcore or rock and roll or hard rock or metal or the 8 billion different genres. I don't even want to get started on that, because that shit's annoying to me.
See, now you have a name for yourself, though, so it's a little easier to get the project out.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose in a certain light it is. I don't know that. Obviously, if you have a history, there's always going to be some kind of leg up, but it's not like I'm just getting a free ride. You know what I mean? Like, I just walk out and I could just make take a shit on a plate and record it and put it out, and it's gonna be like, oh man, Corey just took a shit on the plate. Like, I don't think it's like that. I think that there was a certain caliber of work done in my old band, and I think that everybody that was in that band, it's work that they could be proud of. Like, I felt like I don't feel like anyone in this band is gonna look back and go, man, we made some shitty ass music. That's just not going to happen, because there was too many arguments about not making shitty music, which is what caused us to make good music, was the passion and the intensity of the people involved wanting to do something that was great. If you don't have that, then why are you doing it? You're really you're wasting your time. You're wasting, other people's times. But there's a lot of people that, That's the way people are programmed now. It's all based off, well, in general, people function off of familiarity. So, I don't want anybody to take this a certain way, but I'm going to use this band as an example because everybody uses this band as an example. Five Finger Death Punch, for instance, is an example. And it's an example of where they are telling you straight up, like, we're not trying to come out here and remake the world of music. We're not trying to be progressive this or that, or reshape everybody's ideas about music, or change the scene. They're just trying to live in the world, and they're trying to bring you some music. That's it. If you're looking for more than that from that band, then you're deluding yourself. You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean that stops other people from maybe taking something that they do and expanding on it, or being influenced by them and making something that's heavier, or making something that's more progressive based off something that they heard with them. You don't have to go out and make the exact same music they did. That's just fear. They're like, oh, Five Fingers selling such and such, they're doing well. Let's go out and do the exact same thing and we'll do well, which is not always the case. People think that they're just going to follow a format, and that's what's going to happen. But all you're really doing is creating a lot of monotony and mediocre caliber shit, because
you got to be different and stand out. Yeah,
you got to at least make the effort, I think. Maybe you make the effort and you fail, but people are so afraid of that failure that they don't even want to make the effort. They're just, it's all about kind of like, well, let's do this because we see that that's what works, which I can agree with on a certain level. I'm not saying you got to come out. Everybody's not going to be Dillinger Escape Plan or Brutal Truth, where you're just doing shit that's so crazy, you know, and in a lot of ways it doesn't follow the standard rules of songwriting and stuff like that, or Meshuggah or whatever. And yeah, they're not following the standard rules, but I mean, what are you going to do? You know, that's why those bands are what they are. There's not 1,000 of those bands. There's 1,000 bands that think they are those bands. You know, they take a similar style and try to incorporate it, but that doesn't make you as good as them.
Well, for you, are you bringing some little similar styles from God Forbidden, or?
I mean, I think that's just, ultimately, that's inevitable. You know, if you listen to Bad Wolves, you listen to Dog Play, you're going to recognize certain things because you're not just going to wake up and be a different person and just play completely differently, unless it's a completely different style. Like if you hear Doc or go play jazz or I go play some swing shit, it's not going to sound like God Forbid. It's going to sound like, hopefully, it's going to sound like some swing shit, because I like to believe that I'm at least knowledgeable enough to understand that I need to follow what's going on. But, you know, it's not like this shit is completely out of our wheelhouse. You know, it's the concepts are the same. Melodic metal, grooves, heavy shit, you know, it's all incorporated. So anything that you've learned and accumulated in your craft over this past, I don't know, 20 years is obviously, yeah, I dripped on myself. It's all right. I'm not licking my fingers though, so
It's all good.
you know, I could do that. People would say shit all the time, but but you know, so I mean, yeah, I guess you could say I am, but it's like, how am I not? How am I not gonna? It's just it's part of how I play. So I think that when people hear it, you know, and they'll hear certain drum things, they'll be like, oh yeah, it's that motherfucker. I know that shit. I can hear it. I know that that's him. But I also think that in many ways, the difference is enough to where that it's caused me to grow in different ways and change a lot of things about the way that I play. And because I took like a long time off from playing anything there. Like I did a bunch of like studios fill-in stuff, some gospel stuff and things like that. I did a couple country gigs and filled in, because I don't have a problem with that. I like money just as much as anybody else. I just don't want to sell my soul all the time to get it. You know, I'll figure out something else. And that's not to say that everybody does it. It's just to say that for me, it's the writing of the music and the creative part, for me, is the best part. The playing live stuff is fun and all of that. For me, it's just more work, because that's all I'm going to do is be sweating. And I detest sweating, which I totally picked the wrong instrument. I should have stuck to a harmonica or piano or, you know, one of the instruments I started out playing, and before I ended up in this world of drum hell. But whatever. You know, the damage is done now. I'm 20 years deep. I'm going past the point of no return. So, you know, you got to go with what you know a little bit. But I think, you know, there's always going to be a part of God Forbid that's with me. And I don't have a problem with that at all. You know, it was a lot of the greater part of my music playing years.
Well, do you miss being in God Forbid?
I miss things about it. You know, obviously, we were a family, you know, so how are you not going to miss your family? We're just a dysfunctional family on many levels, and we, like I said, you have a lot of outside sources, which also, they misshape that dysfunction in bad ways at times as well, because people allow themselves to be influenced by outside things. We all do, you know. With all that happening, and we were all very aggressive by nature to begin with, so, which made for great music, but it also makes for a lot of confrontation, you know, which was good confrontation and bad confrontation. Sometimes good, and we'd get to a point and write a great song, everybody laugh it off, we feel good, everybody's smiling, and there was other days where there were things said to people that you wouldn't say to your worst enemy, let alone somebody that you knew, and they were said on a repeated basis, so it becomes very mentally taxing. And there was some physical incidences, you know, mostly earlier on. Obviously, later in life, it was just like, all right, it's just not worth it, you know. But there were some moments where there was almost physical incidences that would have been comedic, I think.
Sounds like a big difference from now. You say everyone gets along, and
Well, yeah, I mean, it just takes time, and everybody's older, and a lot of the things that you harbor when you're in a band, because that's what ultimately happens. There are things that accumulate, and you could say that they don't, but any relationship you have, whether it's a friend, you're a family member, whatever relationship dynamic you may have in your life, everybody knows there's that little thing. Like you got a girlfriend, you're like, I remember that time 2 months ago when you left your fucking panties in the sink. I didn't say a fucking word, Now, the one time I didn't refill the toilet paper up my ass, you know what I mean? Like, those little things, they're not huge on their own. But if you take all those little things plus some of the real things, and they accumulate over 20 years almost, there's going to be some dark feelings and some resentment. If not, then you wouldn't be close at all, So you got to take the good with the bad. But I think that we had a very long run, and eventually, and we've done, people say, man, it's crazy how you broke up. It's like, bands break up all the time in like 2 to 3 years. Okay? We were around for like 15, 16 years. Give me a break, man. It's almost 2 decades. Everybody's not going to be Metallica or AC/DC. They're Guns N' Roses. This shit's not going to last forever. It's got a shelf life. Slayer's got a shelf life. Every band has a shelf life. Slipknot's got a shelf life. They're on top of the world.
well, so many bands nowadays are doing reunions and stuff. Do you think you'll ever do that?
I mean, this shit has been going around a lot too, and I know Doc said something, and I totally understand where he's coming from, and it kind of got paraphrased to make it look like he was saying something negative, which in a certain light is happening, and he basically felt like a lot of people don't give a shit enough about the band to where it's like people are knocking down our door for a God forbid reunion. And I'm the last one in New Jersey now. Everybody else doesn't live in New Jersey anymore. So I go to a lot of shows. I hear the shit all the time because it's fucking New Jersey. And it's also because it's a state full of assholes. Everybody just loves to come up to me and bust my balls. Anyway, when's the God forbid reunion, bro? When's the God forbid? Like, yo, if I can answer you one more time, I don't fucking know, then that means I don't fucking know,
Well, it's great that you're still doing music now, metal, so that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I never stopped doing music. I just changed, what side of the music I was on. So I started producing more and throwing shows more and doing stuff like that because I wanted to stay involved. And I also wanted to help out bands where I was from, try to help them escape some of the pitfalls that we fell into, and like maybe if we had certain guys at certain times or realized certain things, we wouldn't have made certain mistakes. Because you can't blame the world on everything that happens. Largely, that band broke up because we made mistakes. We made bad choices here or there or whatever. I mean, you're not going to make every right choice. It's not feasible. But it's just that you can't blame everybody else. You got to take responsibility for that shit at some point and say, all right, well, we had a hand in this, despite whatever you may believe went on without your knowledge or behind closed doors or whatever kind of conspiracy bullshit or racial bullshit. Oh, it's because there's black people in the band and this and that. I mean, at some level, maybe that's true. I'm never going to know because no one's going to come up and tell me, hey, there was niggas in the band, so that's why we didn't let you play the show or we didn't let you do this or whatever. I'm never going to find out. And I don't really care to. It's not going to change my life or my destiny in any way, shape, or form to have that knowledge. I'm not going to gain some, mass closure because now I've got this secret information that changed our destiny. I don't think it's anything like that. I think it's just a cumulative thing, and then you learn from it. And, we've all grown and learned things and seen more in life to where you see what's important and what's not important. And the more important thing for us, I think, was being able to mend some personal offenses and having everybody be able to be cool. Like, the other day I sent like the Thanksgiving text and everybody's like, talking trash and making jokes and shit. And I'm cool with that. Like if we never have a reunion again, I don't give a shit. At least I can still talk to everybody and we're all cool. Like, if I go to Byron's house tomorrow, I'm going to go hang out at his house, hang out with his kid. If I'm out in California and see Doc, I'm going to go hang out with him, his girlfriend. We're going to have a good time. We're going to smile. We're going to joke. It's going to be all good. You know, if I go see John up in Pennsylvania, see him, see his wife, it's going to be all good. You know, that to me is far more important than ever playing another note of music together. You know, would it be awesome if we could? I suppose it would be. You know, why wouldn't it be? It would be great to be able to do. I just think that it has to be, like anything else, it's just a matter of timing. You know, it has to be right for everybody, and everybody's spread out now. You know, Doc's in California, John's in Pennsylvania, Byron's basically in Mexico. He's in Texas, but he's in El Paso. As far as I'm concerned, it's fucking Mexico. And I'm the last man standing here, so it's a lot of mileage. You know, John and I, obviously, we're only like an hour apart. But still, you know, you also have adult lives and adult responsibilities, you know, mortgages and rents and insurances and trucks and kids. And some dudes got wives, and, you know, it's all of that. You know, I have a couple businesses I'm involved in, and, you know, it takes up a lot of time. I also do a couple other side musical projects that I'm doing, some of which are actually, one thing of which is actually with John from God Forbid. But, you know, is it a possibility? It's absolutely a possibility. Have we talked about it? Of course we've talked about it. You know, not going to not talk about it. It's just that I don't think that any of us even knows where to begin. If we wanted to do it, like, how do you even start to do that? Like, where do you... Okay, we'd like to do it. Okay, how are we going to do this? Well, we all live on basically the furthest points from each other we can possibly live. I'm in New Jersey, Doc's in California. Okay, you got one on each side of the country. Then you got Byron, who's way down here in the most humanly southern part of the country you could be in. He's in El Paso. He's in Mexico, you might as well say. So now you got like this, and then, you know, you got John's over here. Dallas, I'd like to say I know where he is, but I have no idea where Dallas is, to be 100% honest. He's the one dude I haven't talked to in some time. He pops up every once in a while on Facebook and messages me, and I don't really know what Dallas is doing. I don't think that any of us really know what Dallas. I don't know that Dallas knows what Dallas is doing, to be fair. But you know, I just suppose that, like, it's just about timing. When we, you know, when we're all involved enough and have the time enough to say, all right, well, we want to do this. This is how we should maybe start.
Yeah, if it's meant to be, it'll fall into place, just like Disciples of Verity. It just fell into place, yeah.
And eventually that'll turn into whatever's going to happen. We have gotten several offers about doing it. But it's really not just, like, people always say, well, you know, just go and cash in. But for us, I don't think it was ever about that for us to begin with. You know, clearly, you had a bunch of black dudes in a metal band, you know, writing not the most, you know, commercial music, clearly. There's nothing about that says, we are here to make shitloads of money. You know, there's nothing about that equation that says we're out for money. So I don't know why that would change now, other than the fact that we have adult bills, but everybody's paying their bills. You know, we don't need, God forbid, to change our futures. You know, so the only reason to do it is because we just want to do it and play with each other and leave it at that. But it has to be able to make, you know, detailed sense, geographic sense, financial sense. It has to be all those things. You know, it's not just one thing. So we'll see what happens. You know, Byron was just on stage with Doc with Bad Wolves. I'm gonna start touring. I've seen Doc like fucking 3-4. You know, I've seen him a bunch of times actually. I see that dude. I've seen him like 8 or 10 times in the past 2 years. Like, I've been out and about. He's been back and forth. So I'm sure I'll see him plenty.
That's cool, yeah.
Yeah. You know, like, I actually just pulled a snare drum out of storage to give to Byron's son because he's starting to play stuff, and John's daughter's starting to play music already. She's like this big, so the second generation of God Forbid is already beginning. And then Dallas's daughter, she was on stage with Doc during Bad Wolves. She's into music. So who knows, you know, what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. I think it would be fun. I think that we all think it would be fun, but none of us is prepared to really deal with the part past the fun, which is the hard part, all the planning and dealing with the issues that we have, distance and all of that. So I suppose when there's whatever the inciting incident will be, that's usually when things turn and you start taking it, all right, well, then maybe we should do this or should do that. Whenever that incident occurs, I'm sure it won't be a secret. I'm sure that, it'll be very public and people will know what's going on. Yep, I'm getting back in this. I'm actually being very good because normally I'd be just sucking this thing down.
Well, let me let you eat here for a little bit. And
You messed up when you didn't get one of these shakes, man. They're fantastic.
I should order one.
But yeah, and then, obviously Disciples, it's a very similar vibe. A lot of camaraderie, very cool, and everybody's looking to, get out on the road and play it out loud because there's a lot of people that I'm sure have questions, what it's going to be and how it's going to sound, and which are normal questions. But I assure you, no one's going to be disappointed. I know. Well, there's somebody who's going to be disappointed because some people they enjoy being disappointed because that's what they do. They go on the internet and talk shit.
Single you have out now is awesome. So
thank you. Yeah, I was pretty stoked about it, and that was actually a lot. I actually played it for some people. Like, oh, because of the singing, it's really not metal. It's like, have you heard the song? You gonna tell me that's not metal? Like, what else?
there's different styles of metal. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of different styles, but there's a lot of different styles within that song. There's a lot of faster parts. There's a lot of heavy, like a lot of double kick stuff. A lot of, obviously, Jeff Loomis on it, so they're shredding all, more than enough of everything that you could really think of. There's no blast beats on it because I'm just, for me, I'm just not worried about playing everything exceptionally fast. Like that time for me in my mind, unless there's a riff that's so sick that demands it, then that's not what's in my head. Then that's also not how fast you play doesn't necessarily to me make metal, or then Crowbar's not metal, and that's one of the most metal bands you're ever gonna see. One of the heaviest bands you'll ever see. They don't break 200 ever. They're not breaking 200 BPM. They're dropping just heavy ass, dark grooves, and I think that we're similar in that nature, with a little bit more variance, I would say, overall, as far as melodic nature and things like that. So there's a lot of textures to it, but whatever, I can't see. I think on the whole, like if you're a metal fan, then you're gonna be pleased and you're gonna be happy to see it live and to hear the record.
Awesome. Well, it's good talking with you and having you. Everyone, look them up.